do. Um, Champ, let's move on. Let's talk about Notre Dame. They missed out on the college football playoffs. I know my man B Brown ESQ, who is a Notre Dame. They're upset, obviously, with Notre Dame missing out on the college football playoffs, but I don't have a problem with it, champ. You did lose to Miami, and you also lost to A&M. Okay, so what did you expect? What did you expect if you were Notre Dame? Plus, you didn't get as many ratings compared to the rest of the other schools. You can look and say, well, you only lost two. You only had two losses. You can say, well, Alabama, they made it in, and Alabama got embarrassed in the SEC championship game against your Georgia Bulldogs, in which they held the Crimson Tide to what? How many yards, champ? Rushing?
We held them to -2 yards worsen. Every dog has his day, and a good dog has two. But continue.
Which shocking. And at one point, Georgia was up 21-0. That was the best defensive game I saw from Georgia all year, other than against Texas. But if you look at Notre Dame, I mean, I'm sorry. Alabama, they went up against top tier competition. Of course, their competition, their schedule is entirely different compared to Notre Dame's. Now, Miami, we expected them to be in. A&M, they only had one loss, and that was against Texas. Okay. I don't really have a problem with Notre Dame being out. Could it be some people may say, "Oh, SEC bias," They may think, "Oh, why should Ole Miss be in after what happened with Lane Kiffin? He only had one loss, and that was against your Bulldogs, champ, and it was a close game." So no shame to that. Oklahoma, they've had two losses this season. One against Texas, against an unranked team. Only real reason why we lost that game because of our quarterback, John Mateer. He was coming off of a thumb injury. He had surgery on it. And had we had the backup, we would have had a much better chance. And with Oklahoma, the reason why I'm kind of happy because again, like I said, Lincoln Riley didn't want nothing with that SEC smoke, and he thought he could weasel his way to get to the college football playoffs. Meanwhile, Oklahoma's in. Did he not want the SEC smoke, champ?
What's so funny about that? And I'm just gonna be real. You tried to duck the SEC, and you went to an even harder division.
The Big Ten.
You went to an even harder conference. So, in the great words of Ice T, you played yourself.
Well, I don't know if they played themselves, but actually they kind of did because they thought they were going to stay in the Pac-12, but they had no idea they were going to move to the Big Ten. And look what's happened. But champ, I don't have a problem with Notre Dame not being in the college football playoffs. Apologies, B Brown. Apologies, Big Flo. Even though y'all from Notre Dame, but at the same time, you had two top tier teams this season, and you lost to both of them, Miami and A&M. Now now look, some people may complain about Alabama being in the college football playoffs, but at the same time, Virginia, you did lose in the ACC championship game to Duke, and Alabama, you can look at it and say early on they did lose to Florida State, but that was in the season opener. And in fairness to undisputed world champ, he did say, Kalen DeBoer, you under the hot seat. Because there what three teams, three places you can be out. What Philly?
Philly, Auburn, the SEC.
See, Philly, Auburn, and the SEC. And Kalen DeBoer has done a solid job for Alabama, but in that SEC championship game,
Laid an egg.
big fella, do you have a problem with Notre Dame not making it to the college football playoffs?
No, I don't have a problem with them being out. You lost the head to head. You lost the head to head battle. Now, to Joy Galloway's point, If that was going to be the case, then the ranking should have been the same last Tuesday, the Tuesday before they chose. Now, if it was the same back then and they kept the same energy, that's a whole nother ball game. But that's the only problem that I had with it. Miami should have been in the first place rather than them changing it and a controversy happening. That's just the thing. They should have been on the rankings in the college football playoff the week before. That way there was no mistakes made. That's the only problem that I had. The thing is, look, do I think that Alabama deserved to be in there? No. I'm just gonna be real. After you get spanked in the conference championship, then guess what? I mean, hey, you should be ousted. I'm just being real. And people are going to say, well, you shouldn't be affected by your conference. It's not you losing, it's how you lose. When you get spanked like a kid in Kmart, that's a whole nother matter than when you going head to head and you barely lose. So, yeah, in that perspective, I can understand where Notre Dame fans and their faithful are griping for, because it wasn't the fact that Alabama lost. It's how they lost. -2 yards. That's nasty. But I don't have a problem with Notre Dame being left out, because guess what? You lost your head-to-head to Miami. You had a chance to get your biggest victory, arguably, of the season in game one, and you didn't do it. It's Texas A&M. So you got to win. My thing is, look, and I'm going to sound like the old man, get off my yard, but unfortunately, I have to sound like that today. Unfortunately, for the first time on the Sports PSP podcast, I have to be the bad guy. You have to win. And we have to stop trying to give out participation trophies in college football. If you don't win when you're supposed to win, then you have to sit your butt down and settle for whatever bowl game they give you. College football is not free. You got to go out there, you got to play your butt off. You have to go out there and you have to do your job. And I said this before my Georgia Bulldogs played. You can vouch for me. I said, if we don't win this SEC championship and we get left out of the college football playoff, so be it. I said it the year before when we lost to Alabama in
In
the
the
SEC
SEC championship game. I
championship.
remember you saying that.
Yeah, when we lost to them the year before, Nick Saban's last hurrah. I said, look, if we don't win, guess what? And we get left out, so be it. You got to win. You got to win. College football, the thing about college football, what makes it so special, what makes it special is that every game counts. In some games, if you lose, they can come back and bite you in the buttocks. That's what's so special about the college football playoffs. That's what's so special about it. You lose a game at the beginning of the season, and oh man, it comes back to haunt you during the selection process. That's why college football is so special. And that's how we need to keep it. We got to stop trying to hand out participation trophies just because it's Notre Dame or whoever. Like I stated, I'm a diehard Georgia Bulldogs fan. You see it on the wall right behind me over my right shoulder. You see it. But I said it before the SEC championship last Saturday, and I said it before the SEC championship when we was trying to three-peat. I said if we lose and we get left out, we deserve to be left out. Why? Because we have to win when it matters. And if I feel that way by my own team, then guess what? If you lose when it matters, then guess what? You just left out. And the whole abandoning the bowl game, we're not going to play in the bowl game. And not only that, on top of that, signing a memorandum of understanding with the NC2A stating that, oh, if we are chosen, as long as we are ranked in the top 12, then we automatically get a college football playoff bid. Do you realize how soft that sounds? And the thing is, you really played yourself, if you want me to be honest with you, because the only thing that they're going to do is put you at 13 every time when it's close and they see a reason to leave you out. A lot of teams don't like the fact that you're independent in the first place. So college football is special because every game counts. No game is safe. Every game, you have to come up here and put your best foot forward, even in a 1 versus 2 type of matchup. So you that's what it should be about. A team that was ranked ahead of you, that got chosen ahead of you, lost the head to head. You lost the head to head to them. Unfortunately for you, you got to win. Like I stated, college football is special because every game counts. It's not like the NFL. NFL, guess what? Every game counts, but not on the level that it does in college football. You have to be chosen by a committee. And back during the BCS, it was even worse. You could have the strength of schedule. You had to win every game in order to even have a case in order to get to a national championship. God forbid you lost the game. You lost two. Man, you was definitely SOL.
Against two top teams, one in the ACC, the other in the SEC. So
Yeah.
when you lose to those types of teams, and when you're going to face them in the college football playoffs, how's it going to look or plan out? Probably not good. Champ, do you think at some point in time Notre Dame should go to a conference in order for them to help their chances of getting to the college football playoffs? I don't. I think the only reason why they were out is because, hey, you had two chances to beat these top teams. If you beat one of them, perhaps you would have a chance, a good
Yeah.
enough chance. If you beat both of them, no doubt, but that wasn't the case.
I don't think they should join the conference as much as I'm not a Notre Dame fan. I've never been a Notre Dame fan. I have never been a Notre Dame fan. Never. Never. They are the they are the Duke University of college football, but on a higher level. That's just my humble opinion about it. I've never liked the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. Never. But
In
as far
terms
as that,
of,
huh?
what is it about them that you don't like?
I've never. The thing is, the teams that I used to cheer for when I was a child, they was beating all of those teams. So yeah, they was beating all
Okay,
of those teams. They was
okay,
they was
envy,
they was
jealousy.
that school. Yeah, but the thing is, I don't like. Look, at one point, everybody hated the New England Patriots.
Well, everyone
Everybody
hated the Dallas Cowboys in the '90s,
hated it.
but the thing is, they won.
Yeah, they won, but that don't mean I got to like it.
No, I
So
mean, I'm not saying you didn't. I thought the reason when you say you didn't like the team, I thought was it because of your mascot? Was it because of political or
no,
social reasons?
they was beating the teams that we would cheer for back in the
Okay,
day.
okay, fair enough. I just needed
Yeah.
some context regarding that.
Yeah,
But
I've never liked them because they beat the team, and probably because they had some look. They had everything. They had the greatest players. They had the superstar coaches. They was able to come back after the Jerry Faust era. And they was able to come back after that. Ironically, my goat, who I say is the greatest of all time, came from Notre Dame. But I always kind of scoffed at the whole tradition, you know, so when it came down to me cheering for them or either the University of Miami or one of those guys, one of those other teams, I always cheer for the other team because of that. All of that, yeah, I really didn't like it. Ironically, uh, my father was a Notre Dame fan. He still is. So never really liked Notre Dame. But at this point, the only time that we talk about Notre Dame to their credit, the only time they talk about Notre Dame joining the conference is when they're winning. They don't ever talk about it when they losing. When they losing, it's like, all right, you out of there. But when they winning, especially last year when they damn near when when they made it in the Natty, they're talking about they need to join a conference. Don't get mad at them because y'all look. I'm gonna just be real. Y'all go to conferences for money. Notre Dame say, hell no, I'm not joining the conference. I'm keeping my money. They're the family member that is in business for themselves. They have an individual TV contract. So why in the hell would I risk that because you want me to join a conference and you want to? And I believe, look, another thing I believe they did this. and another way to bully them into joining the conference. You don't want to join a conference, then guess what? You got to win every game or suffer the consequences. But if you notice already, and you being Notre Dame, there's a strike against you already because a lot of these athletics directors, they're kind of jealous of you because you get to keep that money in your pocket every single year. They gross more than any other school in college football. They have an individual TV contract. Most schools, their conference has a TV contract. Their conference has, state TV stations. Notre Dame, they have their own TV contract with NBC, and it stretches across the board. You saw them in you see them in a lot of the college basketball games rich in tradition. Rich in tradition. I may not like them, but I'm gonna give them credit where credit is due because I'm not a biased person. But I'm gonna just be real. No, I'm not gonna join the conference until absolutely necessary. What I will do is I will schedule harder teams. I will get a few more SEC teams in there. I'm going to schedule the Georgias. I'm going to go to their stadium. I'm going to schedule the Alabamas. I'm going to schedule,
or Tennessee,
the
and
Tennessee.
maybe one or two Big Ten
Yeah, more than
teams.
two Big Ten teams, then an ACC team. I'm not going to look.
You got to make it as versatile
Look,
as
look,
you
look.
possibly can if
The
you're Notre
road,
Dame.
look, Notre Dame, listen to me. I've never been a fan of yours, but listen to me. I'm going to quote the late, great John Madden on this one. The road to Easy Street is through the sewers at this point. The
Hmm.
road to Easy Street is through the sewers. And right now, you need to get on that schedule and start getting into the sewers. Schedule Georgia.
That's the only way in order to compel their chances into making the college football playoffs champ. Because if they keep losing to top tier teams in top tier conferences. Meanwhile, they beat tomato can teams. How does that help their chances as far as with the college football playoffs?
It doesn't.
And speaking of which, they decided not to be a part of the bowls. And I wanted to go further into that because you've been often saying they should eradicate the bowl games because nobody's taking it seriously anymore. Because unless it's the college football playoffs, hey, these players they're gonna focus on the draft. They're gonna focus on something else. Other teams, they're not gonna take it seriously. They're not gonna participate. They feel like it's a They feel like we don't want to be involved in a participation trophy or award. So therefore, we're gonna stay out of it. What are your thoughts about that?
Eliminate the bowl games? Absolutely. And I think the most that they should
Sad to
go up,
say, but yeah, it is time to move on.
it's time to
Unfortunately,
move on. 16 teams in the playoffs. That's the most I'm going up to. Agreed upon by every conference. 16 teams. If you don't win, you don't look. If you don't win, you don't have the strength of schedule. You don't have the head-to-head win. You just asked out. It's just that. It's just that simple. For lack of a better term, it's just that simple. I would move it to 16 teams and say, hey, listen, we got 16 teams in here. If you don't make it, or what they used to say back in the day during the Coca-Cola commercial, Eddie Getty, if you don't know, you don't go. If you don't know, you don't go. So guess what? You got to win. You got to win when it matters. You got to have the strength of schedule. You got to have all of that. You have to have it. So guess what? It's time to eliminate these bowl games. Like I stated, a good way for that to happen, bump it up to 16 teams if you have to, but make it clear. You're not going to get any more bowl games. We're going to go to the playoffs. We don't want to hear no more whining and complaining. If you didn't get it in, you should have won. And that's the thing. You're not just being selected because of who you are. You're being selected based off of your play. Your play is what's dictating this. Your play. So you control your destiny. You control your destiny. As far as Notre Dame not being in the bowl game, guess what? Vanderbilt, They didn't get chosen. They wouldn't play. They said it was a privilege to play in the bowl game.
I
Texas,
think they
Texas,
looked at it. They looked at it from the standpoint check before Vanderbilt became Vanderbilt this year. What were they?
they wasn't much, but they had a chance to know. But much like Notre Dame, they had a chance, and they realized they blew a lot of chances. So of
They, b-
course, you take the high road and you take the road.
but
That's
that's
great.
but that's my point, champ. Because before this season and last season, when they beat Alabama, one of the shocking upsets, Vanderbilt they were not real. I mean, they were a team that got blown out quick, fast, in a hurry. At times, when you saw Alabama, top tier teams in the SEC, go up against Vanderbilt, they would just beat them down.
Yeah, it was
Now,
a circle win.
nowadays, yeah, nowadays you got to put more respect for Vanderbilt, and I think for Vanderbilt, considering that they've overachieved, champ, they want to accept the bowl game, especially for all the players, the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, the seniors. Especially with the juniors and seniors, they may never have an opportunity like this as a Vanderbilt Commodore. So they're gonna take advantage of this. As for Notre Dame, hey, look, even though it is disappointing because last year you made the appearance in the college football playoffs, you lost in the national championship game to Ohio State. Also, here are some stats that I'm reading from Front Office Sports. I'm reading an article here from Front Office Sports, Michael McCarthy, regarding the TV ratings. Just want to make sure I have it like right here. Yes, the 10-2 Irish didn't rank among the top 10 most watched college football teams this year, according to Nielsen. In fact, their average viewing audience of nearly 4 million viewers ranked them number 15 behind Florida, Ole Miss, South Carolina, and Florida State, and ahead of Vanderbilt, Missouri, Penn State, and Miami. The most watched team was Alabama, averaging more than double Notre Dame's viewers at over 8.4 million, followed by Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oklahoma. Overall, SEC teams accounted for 4 of the 5 most watched schools and 8 of the top 10. According to Nielsen, Notre Dame played in only one of the top 20 most watched college football games this year. It drew a season high of 10.8 million viewers versus Miami for its season opener on August 31st. Ironically, the committee pointed to that 27-24 road loss to the Hurricanes as the reason the Irish didn't make the playoff cut. Even Notre Dame's 34-23 victory over rival USC on October 18th didn't pop a big number. NBC's broadcast averaged nearly 3 million viewers, trailing 3 SEC matchups on ABC. Over 6 million for Mississippi versus Georgia, nearly 5 million for Alabama versus Tennessee, and nearly 4 million for Vanderbilt going up against LSU.
So, in the great words of Chris Jericho, you don't have the look for it, you don't have the eyes for it, and most importantly, you don't have the legs for it. So you don't have to
So what are you,
win.
Mariah Mills?
No, no, I'm doing it to make a point.
Yeah.
So, in other words, you don't have the ratings for it. You don't have the ratings argument. You don't have the strength of schedule. You don't have the head-to-head wins, and you didn't win when it mattered the most. Not
Then
to
why the hell
mention,
should we bring you?
and not to mention, you're an independent conference. You don't never have to play a conference championship. So that's 5 things going against you already. Which I don't really hold this one against them, because that's how come I put it on the pinky. Because it really shouldn't matter if you're an independent team. Because before these conferences, a lot of teams making it to the national championship as independent. Penn State was independent at one point, but I digress. But yeah, you have everything going against you, and you don't win when it matters. And next year they have the easiest schedule in college football. That's nasty as hell. So, um, look like to me you better win every game, and you better win them handily. Because if you don't, you're gonna be sitting in Cancun again next year, or you'll be in South Bend freezing once again. You might want to try going to Gary, Indiana or something. I don't know.
And if you look at their schedule, champ, as you mentioned, September the 6th at Lambeau Field, they face Wisconsin. Following week, they got Rice. Then they got Michigan State, September the 19th. September the 26th at Purdue. October the 3rd at North Carolina, to be announced, versus SMU. Okay, that's an interesting one with SMU. Then you got Syracuse. Then you have Navy on October 31st. Then you got Miami. You should beat Stanford. You got Boston College and then USC. So that seems like a
Mhm.
relatively easy schedule for you if you're Notre Dame to at least make the playoffs. And if you lose to top tier teams, because again, with college football, the beauty of college football, we love seeing that Cinderella story. We love seeing upsets. If you lose to a team that we expected you to beat, but you didn't beat, don't come crying to us. So you have no one to blame but yourself. Sorry. If you're Notre Dame, look, I think Marcus Freeman has done a fantastic job for the team, especially in the departure of Brian Kelly. I think Notre Dame, they'll hopefully we'll see what they do regarding transfer portal recruiting, but I don't want to hear anything regarding them with the college football playoffs. That's all I'm going to say.